Hey, folks, we are back at ng-conf. We're talking to Brandon Roberts. Now, you're one of the NGRX guys, right?
Yep, I am one of the core team members on the NGRX project.
Yep, we had Mike Ryan in here a little bit ago, and he said all kinds of nice things about you. So,
hey, well, that's nice.
Yeah. And you spoke yesterday. You talked about authentication with NGRX.
Yep.
And then he mentioned that you guys spoke a few times today.
Yeah, we did that talk yesterday, and then we did 2 workshops this morning, and then he had another talk around lunchtime. So, yeah, we're definitely cranking out the talks at ng-conf this year.
That's right. You should just put on your own show.
Hey, there's an NGRX track this year, so I think we've pretty much succeeded in doing that, at least for this year.
Yep, absolutely. Well, it's funny because when it first came out, I remember especially like Ward Bell and a few other folks, they were not excited about it.
I think that's a bit of an understatement coming from Ward, not being excited about it.
Yeah, but it seems like a lot of people are getting on board, including Ward.
Yeah, project that Ward Bell and John Papa is going to become an official NGRX project. So, yeah, really excited about that.
Yeah, exactly. So, what do you ascribe the success to?
I think part of it is, we were feeling like an architecture gap feeling an architecture that was needed for like building large Angular apps. The transition of coming from like AngularJS and you being very like service heavy and moving to Angular, which services still exist, but then we have all this state that was always there, but we came up with a predictable way to manage that, and like Redux is a proven battle tested architecture. So we're leveraging proven practices. So that I think that was a big part of it, and also it was something that we had worked on before, and we felt those kind of issues we had the same issues that other developers were having, and then once NGRX came to be, then we were able to take some of those good practices or things that we've learned even from using Redux in an Angular setting and making that more easier and more enjoyable with Angular. So I think that was part of it, and we really enjoy the projects that we work on. So it's a grind, but it's a labor of love for sure. So I think by us putting a lot of ourselves in the project and being able to connect that with other people, I think is definitely contributed to where it is today.
Very cool. So your first talk on authentication with Angular, do you want to just give kind of a quick recap of that?
Sure. So
or authentication with NGRX, I should say.
Yeah, so this is one of the questions we gotten asked a lot, and it was a good talk to give because pretty much every app has to deal with authentication. So, and a lot of people are using NGRX. So, how do we tie those two things together, and how do we promote a good way or a standard that people can follow? And that's why I wanted to give that talk. And like I said, handling, it also gets into things that we haven't explicitly covered in the past of how you go about defining a feature of covering actions and how do those fit in and the process of handling authentication. And it touched on a few things like shared state, what goes in shared state, what doesn't. And that is an example that we could readily point to of this is a question people ask, and this is a way that we can, easily and define a situation in which you would use that. So I was excited to give the talk, and it was my first talk on the main stage, so that was definitely exciting for sure.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I did this is my 3rd year at ng-conf, and the other 2 were I did Faraday talks, so they gave me a good opportunity to go on the main stage and do it there. So I think it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, I thought so too. I got to see it yesterday, and it was well done.
Cool.
And then workshops today. So what were the workshops focused around?
The workshops we did today, the first one was testing strategies and with NGRX, and this talk allowed us to promote like a lot of like the foundational pieces that come into the design decisions around NGRX. Being using pure functions and making that testing burden easier with components. So we got to kind of walk through all the different areas of how you would go about testing, like you testing reducers and selectors, which are just functions, and how those things if your testing story is easier, then developers are maybe a little more incentivized to write tests if there's not a lot of stuff that they have to do. And it also let us kind of promote some of the tools that we use like day to day, as far as like test runners like Jest and the packages that we use along with those for like snapshot testing and marble diagrams and everything. And also to like promote, we just recently open sourced a new library called Angular Testing Library, which, like I said, along those same lines, it's just like helper functions to help you write tests so that you can follow that practice and not have to do so much setup when you're doing your tests. And hopefully that'll help a lot of people to not see testing as such a burden and actually do it as part of what they normally do. So,
yeah, I've actually spent some time looking at Jest. We have a React podcast, and it's pretty popular over there, and there's a lot to like there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we definitely like Jest. We were using Karma and Jasmine, just like everyone else was. And then when Jest came out, or I guess we didn't use it when it first came out, but when we noticed it and saw the features of it, like this is, the feature set things that it provided, were like, yeah, this seems like a good thing to at least give a try. And then we tried it, and we've been using it ever since. So,
good deal. What was your other workshop about?
The other workshop was another hot topic, and that was reducing the boilerplate with NGRX.
Yes,
because that seems to be the topic of choice.
Yep.
That is on everyone's minds, whether some people say it explicitly or not. So it was also a good talk because we got to slay some dragons, I say, to talk about these are the concepts of NGRX, what's boilerplate and what isn't, and these are some of the tools that we provide you to help you to do the things that we do in NGRX, which is being explicit about how things happen, and like I said, that plays into the testing story, and taking away those things that really are boilerplate that we can automate, and things that handle like NGRX entity handling, common model collections, and those things that are going to be repetitive that you're not going to do differently over and over and over. So it was a good talk to have, and we got to have some fun with it too, because me and Mike we're a little more maybe more professional when we get in these settings. So we're gonna try a little something different this time and kind of bring our off stage kind of interactions together. And so I think it went pretty well. It seemed to go over well with the audience.
Good to hear. And I'm assuming that all of those are going to wind up on YouTube under the ng-conf channel. So people can watch them.
They will be there forever for people to see me acting silly on stage. And but yeah, I think it was a good thing to do. One thing I have heard while being here is that there's like that intimidation factor when you go to conferences, and I've been there when I came to ng-conf first time, seeing like I said, John Papa, Warp Bell, people like that, and me being here now, being able to speak here, in some people's eyes, I am that person, but I guess I still refer to myself like don't promote me any higher than you, because I'm still a developer just like you are. So I try to be like as approachable as I can when I meet people here, just so people were approachable when I came here. So I want to kind of extend that same thing when I'm here. So allow me to talk to people that I don't necessarily get to talk to, and meet people that I only talk to like on GitHub and stuff like that. Those things are really like valuable to me. So it's been a good conference so far.
Good to hear. Are there things that happen at ng-conf that influence the direction that NGRX takes?
Definitely. We always, one big thing that we do, just kind of implicitly when we come to ng-conf is to try to talk to as many people that are using it and try to get some feedback. You know, it's a community driven project, and that remains true, because I mean the things that people request, or people say I'm doing things this certain way, and if we hear that enough times, then it allows us to kind of take a step back and kind of process what people say and listen to people's feedback and say, okay, what are some ways that we can, you know, like as library authors, make using NGRX easier, or make it easier for like new people to use it and onboarding. So yeah, definitely one of the things that we come with a purpose of trying to get feedback so that we can take that and do something when we get back to our regular lives and contributing to the project. So yeah.
Cool. Now, did you start NGRX or did Mike?
Rob is the one that actually founded NGRX.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we started contributing to the project very early on, and so it's kind of been the same thing with how I got involved with like just Angular in general. Like when back in the alpha beta days, when Angular was still called Angular 2, I was neck deep in GitHub issues with trying to help people with the Angular router and everything. And I took that on as like it was something that I wanted to like personally contribute to.
Right.
And I kind of found my niche there to try to contribute to that. And then like when the place we were working at the time, we had used Redux with Angular back in those alpha beta days.
Oh, wow.
And actually had like a version of, it wasn't necessarily a version of NGRX what it was back then, but it was doing the same thing. But we couldn't open source it because it was a company project that we built internally. But then when NGRX store had first initially got started, we were like, that is the thing that we want to do. So we jumped on board with that, and then it got to a point where we were doing a lot of the maintaining of the project, and it's kind of grown from there with over time we added new libraries, and now it's our baby now, if you want to call it that. So yeah,
it makes sense. I'm going to take just a minute and mention our sponsor. Kendo UI sponsored the interviews at ng-conf that we're doing and putting up on the devchat.tv channel. So just want to thank them briefly. They do visual elements, components for your Angular projects. So if you need to add graphs or tables or anything like that, you can definitely do that with Kendo UI. So go check them out at kendoui.com. One thing that I'm curious about, what is your background?
My background is, I was, in my previous life, I started out, from professionally, I used to be a back-end developer. I started out with, a long time ago, I started out with like Perl, and I had written web apps in Perl, and I moved to PHP, and I was a professional like PHP developer for like a few years, and then what transitioned me to doing front end work was seeing AngularJS and how it was used, and it kind of intrigued me, right? So, but I had never gotten a chance to do it professionally. So then when I was, like I said, I was doing PHP, we were using AngularJS on the front end for the app we were working on, and then I got a chance to start doing some of the front end work with Angular or AngularJS, and that's kind of where I got started there. Like prior to that, I had worked on .NET backends and like I said, PHP and just various different projects that, some of them did like vanilla JavaScript, some of them did. I worked on like a hybrid app a long time ago that used the framework at the time called Titanium, and EXTJS. So a lot of different, got exposed to a lot of different languages and libraries along the way. So they kind of, a lot of that is kind of played into what, like, how I approach things today and how I develop software. So just like getting that experience and kind of experience over time with different areas has kind of has me where I am today. So
very cool. One other thing that I'm hoping to help people do is just identify with the speakers personally. So, they look at you giving a talk and they go, oh, he's the guy that, whatever, right? Whatever it is that is unique about you. So in your personal life, outside of coding and contributing to NGRX, what does that look like?
My personal life is full. I have a wife and I have 3 kids, and
that'll keep you busy.
Yeah. So I have 1 daughter and 2 sons. I just recently had my second son this past November. So
congratulations.
Most of my personal time when I'm not doing NGRX or doing that kind of stuff is spent with family, and those are the things that are most important to me, outside of contributing to open source. Like, as a part of doing it, I get to provide for my family and make sure that they're taken care of. But yeah, outside of that, I'm a regular guy. Like, I watch sports, I watch basketball, I watch all the sports if they're on TV. I hang out. That's the thing that surprises me. Like, coming to conferences, I'm like a regular guy. If you take me outside of the environment of here, like, I'm not doing anything different than anybody else. And but like I said, those things are part of the things that drive me to do what I do, is because of my family and just values that I have. And but yeah, outside of that, those are things that I enjoy having fun with. So yeah.
Good deal. So is there anything coming up in NGRX that you're excited about?
Well, there's a few things. We talked about some of them today at our workshop, but just upcoming things that give us upcoming features that are coming in TypeScript that allow us to do some more things with NGRX to help people when they're like I said, writing actions and things like that. So a lot of things that I like to do with NGRX are, further integration with schematics. I really like Angular CLI, Angular CLI and the schematics they provide. So I'm interested to kind of further that and kind of get more integration with there, because they talked about doing ng-add and ng-update and trying to integrate that in so that people going from different versions, we can have them move along just the same way and don't have to have them go down a separate process for that. So those are a couple of things I'm excited about. And just in general, like, NGRX is mostly known, probably most well known for store and how we follow the Redux pattern, but our goal has always been to just build like reactive libraries. So I know that's a thing that we're gonna do more in the future, is building these reactive libraries that people can use to kind of help enhance that reactive experience with Angular. We're also looking at working on like a full-blown like documentation site for Angular, not for Angular, for NGRX. And that's something I'm really excited about, because, not all developers love docs, but I am one of those people who think the docs are very important and are like that gateway for new people to come in and to have that good first initial experience of when they use a new project, or even just the docs in general. Because I worked on the Angular docs before, and have been got another chance to work on the Angular docs again. So those are things, like I said, important to me that I'm excited about to work on in the future.
Cool. One last question. If people want to follow you online or see what you're working on, are you on Twitter? Do you have a blog, GitHub?
Yeah, I have. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Brandon T. Roberts on Twitter. And most of the blogging that I do these days is through the NGRX Medium channel, and I always been wanting to like write more articles just in general about Angular and things like that. But those would be the main places that you can find me online, and of course I'm always on GitHub, so
Yep.
you can always find me there too if you're especially if you're following Nginx. But yeah, Twitter's my main like social media outlet, and if you like GIFs and me talking about sports and stuff like that, and a sprinkle of Angular in there, then yeah, you need to track me down and give me a follow. So yeah.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for coming and talking to us for a few minutes.
Oh, thanks for having me.